All right, second stimulus check. This is a May 5th Cinco de Mayo update from LALATE. As always, subscribe and like below, and we have a lot of new information for you today. For a new feature on this channel, we're answering your questions on a daily basis on each subject. So we have your questions or we're ready to go. All right, a lot of new updates for today. The big one is 3 states right today sued Uber and Lyft for issues that are really coming up in the second stimulus check. The second stimulus check, as part of the CARES Act 2, which is also another video we're doing today, is basically talking about the money you're supposed to be getting, but also the protections you're supposed to be getting. A second stimulus check is likely to be coming to you quite soon. Most people envision the second stimulus check to be coming in the month of June. There are new concerns based on medical reports coming out of the CDC and elsewhere that there's a second wave that's going to kick in very soon in coronavirus. Irrespective of whether that second wave is occurring, most financial analysts say the biggest concern for money for both you, the small person that is a single-family individual that works a W-2 employment job and has been laid off or furloughed or reduced hours or is coming back from a stay-at-home order, or those of you that are watching that are small business owners that have 500 employees or less or self-employed and have just you and your husband. Federal government understands that there needs to be a second stimulus check. There was originally supposed to be a second stimulus check under the CARES Act Part 1. It was dropped out. But there are new concerns that of several issues. First of all, they now realize that a lot of people were left out of the first stimulus check, more than they originally envisioned. That was subject of a new federal litigation lawsuit filed today. It alleges that U.S. citizens who are children of undocumented residents, did not get first stimulus checks. These are basically people who were born here legally as children, but their parents migrated to the United States as undocumented. Those people now are adults. Some of them are 21, 25, 26, and they have been paying taxes. They are U.S. citizens in every sense of the word. They have Social Security numbers, but did not get their first stimulus check. There are also people who are 18 years or older that appeared that also qualified. But let's turn to the biggest issue today: is how much the second stimulus check should be, when is it coming, and when should you expect in what form? Basically, the form, I think you're going to see it, is in electronic format. For that reason, I'm telling you right now, if you're watching this channel today and you don't have the following set up, get it ready. Get a bank account ready. Get a bank account ready. Know how to be able to receive funds. Make sure the bank account is in your name, or that you are allowed to receive funds in your name. That you know the bank account number and you know the routing number to receive electronic funds. It's not so difficult. If you write checks out of a bank account, it is that routing number on the front of the check, and it is the account number at the back of the check. But if it's a savings account, it is a little bit different. Remember, to receive funds for a second stimulus check, you have to make sure everything is correct. And it is now evidence that money is not being sent to people or not being received by people because there's slight differences that are going on. If you believe, like I do, that the second stimulus check is going to come electronically, have this information ready and have it right. Make sure the routing number is correct and make sure the bank account is correct. If you are concerned about your bank grabbing that money, please address that with your bank now. Make sure there's no outstanding reasons why your bank would block the receipt of a second stimulus check. Lastly, there are a lot of thin banks. These are banks like that are purely online, like Chime. They gave advances for people who saw a first stimulus check coming. Please do not see them as being the same as a stimulus check themselves. What has gone on and will probably happen a second stimulus check is a lot of businesses like those will give advances to current customers because a second stimulus check is coming in. How much should the second stimulus check be? It's clearly indicative now that second stimulus check should be about $2,000. No one believes that $1,200 is enough. There, of course, has been talk about 6 checks over 6 months. I don't think that's, or 1 check over 6 months, 6 times, however you can say it. $12,000. I don't see that happening. But the bigger concern is what's coming out of California and a few states today, that there's new litigation being filed against Uber and Lyft. And this impacts you as well in what could be coming on the horizon. that in providing you a second stimulus check, members of Congress want to ensure that you also have health benefits. And health benefits is a way that you are not being screwed because you're classified as an independent contractor by your place of work when you're really being treated as an employee. This may not seem as though it's a check in your pocket as a so-called second stimulus check, but it may give you incredible benefits. You may be coming back to work in the next couple of weeks, or maybe back at work now, as stay-at-home orders are lifted in your state progressively over the next few weeks. But what circumstances do you work under? And while you may be getting a second stimulus check, will you be provided benefits, protections, monies to you in a way that you're not protected before you start work? Members of Congress have written Uber and Lyft for exactly the issues that are addressed in this lawsuit filed today. They are saying that these organizations may not operate this way going forward. They are unhappy that these organizations wish to reemploy people back from these stay-at-home orders as independent contractors, not provide them benefits, health benefits, and if they drive passengers and contract coronavirus, tough luck under current Uber Lyft settings. They're independent contractors. Uber and Lyft don't have to provide them medical benefits. The litigation is upset about this, and members of Congress are too. A second stimulus check would not only put money in your pocket, but these additional concerns and precautions and safeguards are what members of Congress are trying to provide for you. So let's turn to your questions. John wrote, how much money would the second coronavirus stimulus check would be? I really think it's going to be $2,000. Would people on Social Security disability be able to get a second round of coronavirus stimulus check? Yes. It doesn't matter that you're on Social Security. Social Security is not an impact whether or not you get a stimulus check or not. The only case in which people who are elderly did not get first stimulus checks are when they were dependents on someone else's return. That is the case, for example, let's say you have an elderly grandmother who's in a convalescent home, and you file a tax return and you list her as your dependent. She did not get a first stimulus check. The second stimulus check program intends to give her that money. Ernest writes, when will the payments start? I really think it's going to be in June. Adam says, I'm in Ohio and I got the $1,200 last week and I really enjoy your channel. You're always spot on. I understand what you're saying and it's always quite simple, but will there be a second stimulus check? Yes. The question is it enough? Emerson says, so if you got your first check, will you begin a second round? Great question, Emerson. Yes, that's the purpose. This is not like, this is not the catch-up check for people whose first check was lost. You would get the second one. Donald Trump commented on the channel, says, you will not be seeing a second stimulus check at all. Zero chance of monthly stimulus checks for you. Get back to work. Thank you, Donald. Mom said, Uber and Lyft protection might be nice. What about Instacart, DoorDash, Uber Eats? Great point. Members of Congress are not stupid. They know what's going on. These organizations are not going to miss members of Congress under their radar. They are going to deal with all of them right away. Chris says, is there a website to send an email to the SBA if I tried to call and they didn't get anything else from me? I've tried to communicate and all I get is auto-reply email addresses. A really great question. Unlike PUA, unlike unemployment, there is no real mechanism to send SBA a email. You can send them a fax. You can overnight express them a letter, which I think is probably the best thing to do. They're there. They're going to read the mail. I believe that's the best situation you need. Alan says the average American needs help and needs a second stimulus check. Amen, Alan. Jermaine says, if I'm pronouncing it right, on a lighter subject, I hear the birds in the background. How beautiful that you're outside instead of behind a desk somewhere. Thank you. That's our hope, to be outside. There's a little bit of screaming nearby today. I don't know if you picked it up in this video, but here we are. Second stimulus check. When is it going to happen? How's it going to happen? I really do think you're going to see this movement in the next 7 days. McConnell and Pelosi are both on cue, are both on table to get this done now. It's enough game playing. It's enough time. If you want to put people back to work, you also have to deal with the bigger issue. The bigger issue is rent. This is May 5th. A lot of people did not make rent on May 1st. What's going to happen on June? And the bigger concern, and this is the real reason why second stimulus check is sort of an issue about third stimulus check and fourth stimulus check, is what's going to happen with rent come June and July. A lot of cities like Santa Monica have extended a rent moratorium against evictions, so they are not going to allow you to evict tenants in even later than the current stay-at-home orders. But when stay-at-home orders are lifted, what happens to rent obligations in all these other cities, states? Without a second stimulus check, a lot of people are going to be on the street. It's, rent comes first, and a job you haven't had for a few weeks is not happening. And as you know, a lot of jobs don't pay you 7 days out. A lot of jobs pay you 30 days out, or 60 days out, or 90 days out. So what do you do under that circumstance? Second stimulus check is needed. It's needed now. And I think you're going to see it. I think you're going to see one in June. The question is that going to be enough? And how much is it? I think you're going to see $500 for dependents. I think for dependents, namely children, on the same return, I think you're going to see up to maybe $3 per family, household. I think you're going to have issues that people are going to deal with in members of Congress. What is a household? What are dependents? What is the age we're going to drop it to, whether it should be 18 or 16? What is the 2019 earnings level that we'll offer it up to? They're trying to extend that. They're big concerns. And it's changing on a daily basis. As always, like the channel, subscribe, comment. We'll address your comments in tomorrow's channel update. And as always, see you with LA for more.